very funny. You and I laughing at your joke. New guy, he no laugh. He cry. You can get up now.
And check your diaper. Come on, let's go.
Hi, welcome back to Bandwagon Fans. I'm Jeff, and got a special treat tonight. I got to go see an advanced screening of Rampage. So when I was a kid, I used to like to build little, Lego houses, little towns out of cardboard boxes. And the only thing that was almost as much fun as building this stuff was pretending I was a big giant monster and walk around and crushing everything. Somebody decided to make that concept into a video game. And then 30 years later, somebody decided to make that video game into a movie. So that would be the 2018's Rampage. Here's some highlights from the trailer.
Got your message about George, you okay?
I don't know.
George? It's okay.
Is Amir, is he considerably bigger?
No, he's definitely bigger. I need to find someone who knows exactly what the hell this thing is.
I found her. No, that's a lie. Technically, she found us.
What's happening to my friend?
Are you familiar with genetic editing? Changes will be incredibly unpredictable. Increased strength,
George!
speed, agility.
No!
Crowded cells and chains that can't run.
Where's George? I need to see him.
He is dangerous.
I think it's time for me to turn the middle around.
We're gonna die!
Probably! Incoming!
Sound the alarm, it's time to cross the line.
Of course, the wolf flies.
Oh, somebody stop.
It's time we throw everything we can at these things and get people the hell out of that city.
Let's go save the world. That's a big arm. Don't fight it.
So Rampage, this is directed by Brad Payton. It's starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and Naomi Harris. This is based off of the 1986 Bally Midway game. In the game, 3 people were experimented on and turned into these giant mutated monsters that then got to destroy a city. In the movie version, it's not people, it's actual animals. And the movie opens up with a science experiment with a mutation gone wrong up in a space station. And then the containers containing this pathogen is pulled out of the space station, but everything is destroyed, and they end up crashing on Earth, and then are unleashed on George, an albino gorilla, a crocodile in Florida, and a wolf in Wyoming. So that's the setup to the movie, and then these 3 animals mutate into these big giant monsters. They all converge on Chicago, and they have to be stopped. So that's the premise. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson plays the handler, a primatologist, and the handler for George, the albino gorilla. And then we got Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays some sort of shadowy government agent that comes in later, and Naomi Harris as one of the researchers who helped create this pathogen. So, and then you have Jason Liles doing the motion capture for George. So there's some things in this movie that worked really well. Some, this is a big, dumb action movie. This is monsters tearing stuff up. It should just be a ton of fun. And there are some things that worked in it. So there was an early, one of the action scenes early in the movie worked really well with when we first get introduced to the wolf. Parts of the big climactic final battle worked really well, and those moments were fun. Jason, the creature design and the motion capture work with Jason Liles was really good. Everything looked spot on. Totally believe that this could be a gorilla doing gorilla stuff. And The Rock. Well, what can you say about him? I think most of us would agree. He is so effortlessly cool. He has such charisma, such a great personality that I would give anything to be as likable as him for 10 minutes. He can take the simplest line. He can say, "Got milk," and it just sounds so witty and charming. He's just great. And he made his performance, every line he has in this movie is enjoyable. So you got the creature design, the relationship between The Rock and George, the albino gorilla. That was really endearing. It was really sweet. It was funny. Definitely the highlight of the movie as far as characters was their relationship, and they pulled it off really well, and that carried throughout the entire movie. Now, other than those things that worked really well, and there were some entertaining highlights, for the most part, this movie fell flat, and it had long stretches of boredom. First off, the supporting cast, once you got away from George and The Rock, the supporting cast they just didn't show up. And it really bums me out. Naomi Harris, from 28 Days Later, I absolutely loved her. And she's been in a lot of other movies. She's a really great actress, but just really weak characterization of this movie. And what characterization was there wasn't necessary. There was like this, like a backstory of her brother having cancer, and it may have tied into the experiment, but it was a subplot that didn't go anywhere and should have been cut out. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's a phenomenal actor, a phenomenal character actor, but in this, he's basically playing Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and quite frankly, he's not playing himself very well. He seems totally uninterested in it, and it's basically he's just doing a caricature of Negan light. There was long stretches of the movie that were just boring. Once you got past the first big action set piece and then up to the end of it, to the final set piece, it was a lot of boring and a lot of stock, generic characters. There was besides the big bad monsters, you have the generic evil corporate people that created the monsters, and they were completely unnecessary. They added nothing to the movie. They were disposed of, and sorry if that was a spoiler alert, but bad guys didn't win. Shouldn't be a shock to anybody. But they were just completely unnecessary. They didn't add anything to it. They were completely generic. I don't remember their names. I don't care what their names were. And so who else was in it? There was this weird thing where there was a supporting cast in the beginning of the movie that you see in the trailers. The guy who he's not new guy doesn't think it's funny. New guy is crying. That really funny moment from the trailer. Well, that whole supporting cast just disappears. About a third of the way into the movie, once you get past the first act, you start to know them, you start to like them, but bye-bye, and you never hear from them again. A whole new cast comes in, and quite frankly, I didn't care about any of them. So the supporting cast just wasn't interesting. You had the stock generic military group. So once all the monsters are on the rampage, the military has to come in. And now there's a whole subplot of how do we keep the military from doing something stupid, and it's just old and tired. If you see in an action or in a big blockbuster action movie, you see a guy with a bird on his chest, chances are everybody has to work to keep him from doing something stupid and destroying the world. In reality, that dude with the bird on his chest is one of the most competent people around. He's a colonel. I know a lot of colonels. I don't necessarily like all of them, but the dudes, they got where they are. They got where they are for a reason. So it's just lazy screenwriting to just always have the military show up and have to be stopped by the good guys. I was really paying attention to the theater was packed, and I was really paying attention to people's reactions during the movie. And there was a good 20, 30-minute stretch where it was just silence. There was nothing going on screen, and there was nothing for the audience to react to. And I was actually yawning, which should not be happening in a big blockbuster, popcorn flick like this. Overall, I would say, it's worth spending an afternoon, go watch this movie, take your kids, have some fun. There is a little bit of blood. They didn't completely pull back on the violence, but it should be safe in this day and age. It should be safe for young kids down to young teenagers. But if you go see this movie, go see it at the Matinee. Don't pay full price for it. Definitely don't do IMAX or 3D. It's definitely not worth that. And if you skip it, because there's, quite frankly, a whole bunch of other better movies coming out soon, don't feel like you're missing anything. You can catch this on Netflix, HBO, rent it. It was okay. You're not wasting your money if you go catch it at a matinee, but you're not seeing anything particularly special. So that's pretty much it. It's meh. Just meh. So for those of you that have seen it, comment below what you thought of the movie. Don't give out any spoilers. And as always, like and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on all upcoming movie reviews. So I'm Jeff. Thanks for watching, and get on the bandwagon.